Okay, we are live now, so are you all set, Jerry?
Yep.
And Ms. Grunning?
Sure.
All right, with that, I'm going to call to order the regular board meeting of the Desoto Area School District, Monday, April 19th, 2021, at 7:03 p.m. in the middle high school gym. With roll call, please, Jerry?
Jess Boardman.
Yes.
Gary Fox, yes. Kirk Holiday.
Here.
Brett Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Jeff Long.
Here.
Rick Reddy.
Yep.
Garris Springler. Ryan Benner.
Yes.
And Kevin Wallace.
He should be here. Okay, with that, proof of giving public notice, please, Lindsay.
The meeting was published on, by posting on the school doors on 4/16/2021. It was also published at all of our traditional spots in Ferryville, Genoa, Desoto, and Stoddard, as well as broadcast over WVRQ radio.
Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
There are none.
And I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Make that motion. Motion by Jess, seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
I believe
I
that was a
know,
virtual
that was a
response
virtual,
that,
yeah.
that was really meant to support the motion rather than against.
Right. It is, yes, we have a delay there. Okay, with that, were there any people that wish to address the board for public comment?
The district office did not receive any public comments by 3:30 today. There's no one present at this time.
With that, we'll move on to committee reports, other reports.
We actually had two committees meet. The policy committee was not noted on the agenda, and therefore I can share what the policy committee did. However, any action the board would take on policies would need to wait till May. The policy committee meeting report was inadvertently left off, and so the items below were covered at the March 30th meeting. It was a review of legal and regulation policy updates on the following policies: 7510, use of district built facilities; 7510.01, facility use form, with legal updates and editorials made to other existing policies. The other committee report is our Finance and Personnel Committee report. Committee met on April 14th, reviewed the following items: an art club proposal for an art club advisor by Carissa Brudos, health, dental, life, short and long-term disability renewal presented by Janice Wabra, cash flow quarterly check-in with Diane and Lisa, grants, claims, etc. The status of the utilities recap. Diane and Lisa also spoke about building and grounds project status and the fund balance, the 2021-22 CPIU initial impact discussion for salary and hourly wages, a budget update forecast for the next year, business office training and work updates, as well as teacher candidates for open positions, inclement weather makeup days for teachers, administrative contracts was deferred, with some additional investigation on salaries and benefits, and purchase of school vehicles through special education.
Anybody have any questions about those committees reports? If not, first order of business is the administration of
I
both.
swore him in ahead of time. Is that okay?
I'm sorry,
I swore him in ahead of time.
you swore me in ahead of time? Okay.
Yes,
Do it
yes.
again if you want.
Well, it's always nice for the public to see that.
Okay.
All right. Who else is newly, Brent was newly elected, right?
I, Brad Hutchinson, have been elected or appointed to the office of board member for the village of Perryville, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the said office to the best of my ability.
There's Jeff and me on the delayed network.
I guess so. He'll be sworn in when he gets back. Okay. That maybe work a little bit better. Otherwise, you would have to repeat it and he'd have to repeat it back and we'd have a delay.
Yeah, I don't have it here.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, thank you all, and thank you both, and thank you, Darius. With that, we'll move on to approval of receipts and expenditures. So what's not a big deal.
That would be part of the grant that would occur for COVID
Okay,
and supplies that we are responsible for purchasing through the ESSER funds in support of private schools. On the ESSER 1. ESSER 2 and 3 will be handled a different way by the DPS.
anybody have any questions on receipts and expenditures? Now I'd ask if Jeff Line makes a motion, we accept the receipts and expenditures. You have a second? Second by Kirk. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion carries. Okay. With that, we take a look at the minutes dated 3/17/21. There were a couple typos, but the content is good.
Yeah, like I said, I think you mean like grades up there by 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
And then, where he dropped an ING, their build plexiglass barriers.
Do you want to circle those and give me what you found? I will take care of them.
Yep,
Thank
I
you.
can put it in here.
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Is that the ones you saw, Rick?
well, they had, like, there's a place where there was a zero and it should be written out instead of just typed out. A place where it should be is instead of a.
I did speak with Jackie about that.
Okay. Anyway, did anybody have any questions on the content? Need a motion then to approve the receipts and expenditures. Motion by Ryan, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Our next item is the resignation, hiring, transfer, and approval of volunteers.
The following resignations are being brought forward. Miranda Campbell, who is our elementary music teacher. That position has been posted and we have one applicant so far. Chelsea Van de Heuvel is our elementary LMC paraprofessional. She has also resigned from her position. That position has been posted and we have several applicants. Brandon Erking, middle school, high school special education and athletic director. Resignation will move forward pending approval by the school district that he is going to be going to. They are also meeting tonight, and if they approve his position there, then his resignation would go into effect here. The following hiring recommendations are being brought forward. Chloe Ulst is for high school English teacher. We had 5 candidates. 2 of the candidates backed out. Of the 3 remaining candidates, one wasn't currently licensed, would be finishing up with her teaching certification in December. And Chloe was the overall strongest applicant for the position. Brock Venner is being recommended as the JV baseball coach, former graduate from here. Ashley Witesky, assistant trap shooting coach. And then you have an additional handout for trap shooting volunteers that were provided to you. Barbara Settlemeyer, Adam Moline, Lindsay Grunning, Dwayne Grunning, Zeke Scarlupa, Eric Nelson, and Robert Frank.
Any questions on any of that, anybody? So we would need a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion.
Resignations. Okay. Motion by Jess, seconded by Kirk. I don't know, Ryan, if you wanted to abstain on the one. Ryan's going to abstain on the one, but you're good with the other ones. So make note that Ryan's abstaining on the volunteer. So, otherwise, all those in favor?
Oh, that wasn't a volunteer, that was.
Oh, I'm sorry,
a
coaching position, not a
Yeah.
coach, yeah.
Thank you.
Coaching position, yeah.
Aye.
Guys, for
No, no,
interrupting.
no, that's fine. Okay, so all those in favor, I'm sorry.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone who worked in our district for their service and welcome those who are new to the different positions.
Okay, with that, we're moving on to donations.
Yes, we actually did receive information on a donation from Mrs. Moline and Mr. Kelly. That donation is in the amount of $1,000 from the Retreat Sportsman's Club. And so we would need to make a motion to accept that.
Someone like to make that motion? Accept $8,000. Motion by Kirk, seconded by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And why it seems logical, the donation was to the trap shooting team, since it's from Retreat
Sure.
Sportsmanship Club.
Yep,
But I
that's
don't
very
think I
generous.
mentioned that, so I wanted to make sure I did.
And I think I sent you guys all a little video of the kids shooting out there one night. Talk, so it's very nice.
Over 40 students are involved in the program.
It's fantastic. Okay, with that, we have a Fund 80 request.
Yes, we do have a Fund 80 request in your packet, request for funds for the kids fishing tournament on July 17. It is open to all district students.
Make a motion to approve that. Second.
Okay, motion by Jess, seconded by Jeff to approve that request. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Aye.
Great thing. Okay. Next, we have an MOU, Bridging Brighter Smiles.
At Bridging Brighter Smiles has provided low cost or free dental services to students in all of our buildings. And we are very pleased with the service that students get through this, and we would like to continue that arrangement. There's no cost to the school district, but it is an agreement that we have to establish with them.
We need a motion then to approve that.
Make a motion.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, we are to the virtual charter school update, and we have Mr. Kelly here. I think that's going to be his job tonight.
I guess down to a charter school. I've had a few requests for pre-K from families. Right now, we are not pre-K. I did talk to DPI, and schools are welcome to do it, and they said that there's a lot of requests. I think, with COVID and a lot of people staying at home, a lot is going virtual, and so I just want to have that option out there that we can have pre-K. I don't know if we will, but again, this year in the last semester, we had 2 families call me about if we'd accept their pre-K at this point. So I just want that option available for us. So that's one thing. And then the second thing, I did go through the table of or our handbook, and I took a lot out and tried to simplify some of it. And a lot that I took out was the fact that each year, online curriculum is always changing. Companies are buying companies up. And I didn't want to just specifically offer this, that. So each year it gets a little bit changes. So I just took that out, saying pigeonholing the teacher, the kids that have to take this. So I took that out. And that's it so far this year. We have 31 kids in our virtual school right now. We're graduating 12 of them, and our 5 kids have come and gone in our virtual school. We are building, which is a great thing, and we're servicing not only kids across the state, but also kids in our own district, again, because of COVID, and they wanted online for different reasons. But I'm glad, and I think it's good as a community we provide that for our families and everybody in our community. So I guess that's what I have for you.
We have 31 right now, you said 31? How many are resident students, you think?
Majority of those, I think we got, I remember I think we got 13 non-resident students, the rest are resident students.
Well, that's
So
pretty significant.
I think that's what it is. I have to make sure, but that's about where we're at.
Anybody else have any questions? So were you asking for us to make a motion to approve these younger students then tonight also?
The addendum, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to ask a motion to accept the addendum to accept pre-K for school.
You're good with that, Lindsay?
Yeah. we-
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well then, if not, we'd ask for a motion then to approve this handbook and the addendum, I guess, or the addendum. Motion by Brent, second by Jeff. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Scott. It's great to see you. It's great to see it growing.
Yeah.
Our next item is the Library Media Center update.
Roxanne Fox should be joining us virtually. We're just so grateful to Roxanne that she has worked with our school over the years and has continued even into her retirement to work with us. We noted at our policy committee meeting on March 30th, the policy advisor from Neola came and said, I bet nobody in this room knows anything about a library plan. And we were pleased to be able to share with them, well, this group does, because Roxanne was due to present in March, and then we had the snow day. So we were aware of a library plan. He said many school districts that he goes to don't even know what it is. And so that was a real tribute to you, Rox, to make sure that we are doing what we need to do. And thank you for bringing this plan forward. I'll turn it over to you to talk about. Everyone has a copy of your handout.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, first, I'd like to take this opportunity to present the Future Ready Libraries Plan for the Desoto area schools to you this evening. But before we talk about it, I just want to thank you for allowing me to serve the district as a librarian since, I think, 2014 I came on board. I don't even know. I'm retired. I don't pay any attention to time. So it's been very rewarding for me to work again in the Desoto Area School District in this capacity. My heart has always belonged to Desoto. I graduated from Desoto. My dad was on the school board for 17 years. I was a teacher here in the 80s and 90s. I had several of you that are on the board or here tonight as students. And my son graduated from Desoto's. I commend you for the work you do and know from experience the difficult decisions and choices you make representing our district, our public. Having said that, I'm here to advocate for the position of a middle high school librarian, elementary librarian too, but specifically middle high school, as recommended in the DPI by the consultant for school librarians, Monica Treptow. I completed an online graduate course this year, which provided me with the research and documentation needed to complete this. It's supposed to be a 5-year plan, but it was supposed to have begun 2 years ago. So I narrowed it down to a 3-year plan, which was sent to you, I believe, for the March meeting. The DPI is strongly recommending that each school district develop this plan to prepare for the future in our school district, which is due to the DPI. I'm not sure when, but in the near future. So one of the purposes of my sharing this with you is it needs board approval before being submitted. So I am going to need your approval. I realize and know that major consideration for employing staff is budget. And I do appreciate that. I'm not going to read all the parts of this plan, as I'm hoping you've had the opportunity to look it over. My main goal is to advocate for the future for a school library program and recommend that this academic position be filled with a certified library teacher. The reason I am suggesting or highly recommending that it's a certified librarian is because I wouldn't hire an auto mechanic to plumb my house. We have very specific skill sets, different from a classroom teacher. And because of that, it's important that somebody is in the position that understands how to administer the budget, all the ins and outs of the policies, digital citizenship, censorship, all those things that a normal classroom teacher might not have experience. So I'm asking that you please give consideration in the future, when hopefully budgets aren't as tight, to put someone in this position. I have agreed to stay on 1 more year in this capacity because I love what I do. I have loved every day of my job my whole career, so I intend to be there. I just want to share with you some statistics that you might not be aware of about your program. So I don't know, you have 3 beautiful library facilities. They couldn't be better. They're perfect for what we do. But Stoddard has about 7,600 copies, books, materials, and of these, 5,375 have been circulated this year. Prairie View has about 7,200 copies, materials, and this year 4,900 plus have been circulated. So we're talking very busy libraries, and they need someone in the library, as the principals will attest to. The high school has 4,165 copies, and they have circulated about 824 this year. The total value of all the library materials, which is purchased through the Common School Fund. This doesn't come out of your budget at all. So every year the Common School Fund comes through with an allotted amount of money, and that is what is divvied up between our 3 buildings. But the total value of our library materials in all 3 schools is $287,587. So it's over $250,000 worth of materials that we have, but we don't have a person in charge of it. So that's the rub. Stoddard has about $108,000 in value. Prairie View has about $108,000. And the high school, middle school has about $71,273. So totally, we have 18,979 copies of materials in all 3 buildings, which is exceptional. I commend everyone who's come before me and whoever helps with this decision besides me, that it's fabulous. I didn't have that in some of the other districts where I worked that were larger. as far as diversity, Lindsay asked me, Mrs. Grunning asked me how diverse we were, and I think we're doing pretty good as far as diverse. So our elementaries have between 400 and 500 diverse materials, and the high school has over 500. And when I talk about diverse, I mean books or materials that are inclusive. So they're about African Americans, they're about the indigenous, they're about Chinese, Japanese, Asian American, they're about blind, deaf, LGBTQ, and the disabled, and so on. So I think this district does a pretty good job of taking care of their students and offering what we can offer as far as materials go. I just know from experience that the library can be the hub of the school, and a lot of things can happen there, and a librarian can be a very helpful teacher in all aspects. So I would just appreciate it if the board would give serious consideration in the future. I know, as I said, budgets are an issue. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments or anything you want to ask?
These last 7 years also. Yeah. And we appreciate you advocating for that position and for putting together this plan for us.
There's a lot of budgeting work that goes on and purchases of technology equipment for the library, that it's just not about books and student reading anymore. It's research, it's digital literacy, a lot of work that librarians must do and do to balance out the education of our students. And thanks for leading that, Rox.
You're welcome. Yeah, digital citizenship and research are our main roles in a school, especially middle school, high school. So thank you very much.
And you needed us to make a motion to approve this plan also.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay. So if there aren't any more questions, I'd ask for a motion to approve the 3-year library plan as presented.
So moved.
Okay. Oh, sorry. We have a question, I guess.
Okay.
By approving the plan, does that mean that we are going to hire a librarian?
No,
Okay.
no, this is just,
Technically,
this is just a plan.
librarian.
Right. This is just a plan that we recognize that we need to be ready for the future in our libraries. There is no commitment to personnel.
Okay, so let's do that again. Doris, we had a motion by Kirk. Can we put you down for the second? Can you hear me, Doris? Oh, okay.
I so moved.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we have Kirk for a first and Doris for a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And Mr. Parker?
Yep. We are going to, since we have Mr. Parker here so patiently waiting, we're going to jump down to 7.14 and address the overnight field trips.
Thank you, sir. Chris, are you on there? Did Chris ever online?
She's probably going to join following Mr. Greiner on the village. So we can only handle so many people at once. So we're bumping around here.
I'm looking for, I guess, authorization or reauthorization for the trip that did not happen last year for the summer of 2022 to Mexico. And I'm trying to hand this off to Mrs. Bent and Mrs. Brudos, Spanish teacher and art teacher. And so this is a trip in conjunction with the two of them. I already have maybe 8-10 families who previously had planned to travel who are pretty interested right now. I'm getting a lot of questions from both students and some parents right now. It should be a trip very similar to what we did in the past, with the exception of we added a couple of days in Mexico City. Visiting the Frida Kahlo Museum, the Diego Rivera Museum, Tenochtitlan Lodge, a few other spots in Mexico City, and shave 2 days off the end on the Playa Maya in Yucatan Peninsula. You should have a brief itinerary there and a little bit of a cost information there. If you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Sounds good. I see your room's all set up for vacation already, huh?
Yeah, I'm waiting for those tickets around the world. I'm told they're coming.
You're planning to go with one more time?
Yeah, I'll do another year here. The price that I,
Good hands, then, you're a good mentor.
thank you, appreciate that. The price that I have on there is a little high, okay? I did the best I could in costing everything out. I just can't account for airline fares next summer. And the airline that we would have used in Mexico has not survived the pandemic. I don't know if it'll bounce back. If not, we'll have to fly with Aeromexico or something. So there's some uncertainty with airline fares in that regard. I certainly won't raise the price, but there's a very good likelihood that price will drop down from what's listed there in the paperwork. So I think most of our students, well, those who had scheduled themselves to go last year had already started fundraising. And I have some of those that have already earned $1,000 or more for this trip. And I think anybody who's seriously interested in going should be able to raise at least half of that amount. So don't have sticker shock when you look at the price there. Also comparing that to the 3 large companies in the U.S., Explorica, Iep, and ACIS, which are the 3 large student travel companies. On a similar tour, mine comes in anywhere from about $60 to about $90 less per day than any of those 3 other companies. And I think we do a better tour in terms of accommodations, hotels, private transfers, meals, and that kind of stuff.
Any questions, anybody? Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that we plan it and we do it. And we'd ask for a motion then to approve this is the planning of this trip.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Jeff, second by Brent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for being here too.
We have some other
Yep.
trips.
Yep. So go ahead, there's an FFA trip.
There's a couple of FFA trips by Mrs. Bark. One is coming up this July 5th through the 8th. It's to Madison for the Wisconsin State FFA Convention. The cost is approximately $150 per student. They are using their FFA budget through fundraising to offset that one. And then they are looking to go again to Chicago, January 29th, 2022 through January 31st. This is usually a trip for senior students who are in FFA. And they anticipate 12 seniors going. The estimated cost per student is $300. And they do their own fundraising and use their FFA dollars to support that. I don't think there's any other FFA ones in there, but those 2. And then I would like to ask the permission for the board to approach our 8th grade parents from last year. Obviously, though, we didn't go on the Washington, D.C. trip last year because of COVID. And obviously this year, there are still places in D.C. that are not open to student trips. So I'd like to approach last year's 8th graders when they're sophomores, talk to them and their parents this year about potentially going next year, May 8th through the 12th, 2022. If the students and parents are no longer interested or it still doesn't look like that will be a possible destination due to the political climate or any of the closed attractions such as the museums and things, we will be providing parents with information that the funds that were previously raised by those students who were in 8th grade could then be used for other school trips. that they personally raised if they went on another school trip, or would be awarded to them in a form of scholarship upon graduation. So anything that they personally fundraised for, they would get that portion back. So the proposal is to just take it forward for that discussion. This year's eighth graders have obviously not gone on the eighth grade trip or will be going either to DC. So we are looking at putting it forward as a sophomore trip tied to U.S. history and government. So it still is a good fit for the curriculum. Students will be older, and we hope next year and then in future years, our students will be able to make that trip and have that experience. So I don't know yet how students or parents are going to feel about that. So I just wanted the board's approval to go ahead with that discussion, and then it would be possibly a sophomore trip from now on out.
Questions? Yeah. We need a motion then to go ahead to open up the discussion and planning of that trip. We had a motion by Ryan, second by Jeff. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.
We'll need one for Hillary's FFA trip.
Okay, so we need a motion also for Hillary's.
Make that motion.
Okay, motion by Jess and seconded by Kirk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Aye.
And if parents are on board, I'll bring it back for board approval then.
Okay. So then we are going to move back to 7.10, which is the 2021 summer school program.
And Mr. Olson would be presenting that information for us.
As you can see, we have a summary of our summer school programs. In the elementary, will look similar to past years. We're going to have a 3-week session starting mid-June. It will be held at both elementary schools. Our 2-week Jumpstart program will begin July 26th, run through August 6th. Again, that will be held at both elementary schools, and our incoming 4K students will also have the opportunity to participate in that. It does look like the Viroqua swimming pool will open, but the director does not have a go-ahead yet to start scheduling lessons. I would assume within the next 2 weeks, we can hopefully get that finalized. They haven't given us 100% green light that it's going to happen, but it does look likely. So in that situation, this year, Prairie View students would be going for lessons during session 1, and the Stoddard students would attend swimming lessons in Viroqua during the Jumpstart, I should say in the afternoon, during that Jumpstart 2-week session. I am finalizing staff and just about ready to wrap up staffing for that. And Betsy will be providing meals again for all in attendance and for anybody that wants to walk in or drive in for meals. Middle school, high school, summer school, Summer on the River will be held at Stoddard again this year. Mr. Crandall's excited about getting the students about. We'll be using the canoes that were purchased a couple years ago. Other activities will be fishing and just a variety of outdoor activities. Fitness center will be open again this year. Mr. Wick's in charge of that. Pretty much open from right when we get out of school until July 30th. High school, middle school credit recovery. We'll be working with those students that need individualized help. We do have programs, and we're going to actually try housing those at the middle school, high school this summer. Mrs. Brudas, as some of you know from the committee meeting, will be working with students to paint on the wall across from the library. Mrs. Brudas and Mrs. Mullen are going to have a creative writing and art class, and Mrs. Mullen will also be opening up a summer book club. I did get 2 new additions today from Mrs. Bark. Safety will work out for our students. I believe that was in June. And then the Wisconsin Farm Tech Days will also be available for students to participate in, and we can count that towards our summer school minutes. Betsy will also be providing food for any of our students down at the middle school, high school, and most likely that food will be coming down from Prairie View. So she'll be having hot kitchens at Prairie View and Stoddard. And as of right now, Wyalusing will not be happening. They just canceled all of their reservations for May, and it doesn't look like they probably will be opening that up in June or maybe even all summer. Any questions about summer school?
Sounds great. It's glad to see all that stuff happening.
Yeah, glad it can be in person. And I guess the long-term goal for me, it'd be nice to have a jumpstart session with no masks, but we'll see what things look like by then.
Sounds
Last
great.
year, we were the trailblazers to have, during Jumpstart, we brought everyone back in with masks. So a year later, it'd be nice to not have them.
Amen. Okay, so we need a motion then to approve the summer school program. Yep. Motion by Jeff Long, seconded by Brent. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. That was another delayed aye for in support. Okay. We are going to.
Sorry.
That's all right. We have Mr. Greiner, Joel Greiner here. We're going to skip to him real quickly.
We'd like to welcome the DeSoto Village President, Joel Greiner, tonight joining us. He's got some great information to share that we're extremely appreciative. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. We do have a number of things that are going on in the village that impact the school district, one of which has been a long concern for us, and that is that people seem to be in a large hurry traveling in front of our schools and kind of disregarding the school zone speed limits. The superintendent took it upon herself early on to contact the county highway department, and through their offices, there was a radar speed display sign erected on the east end of the school district. It has become somewhat erratic in its functioning, and she took it upon herself again to contact the village and asked if perhaps the village would take some action to not only replace that sign, but also provide one on the west side. That was taken up by the village and approved. Those signs, after some negotiation with the Department of Transportation, who controls that road, have been approved and ordered. They should be installed here within the next 6 weeks, we hope. Related to that, and of also interest to all of us here, is that the Department of Transportation plans to repave Highway 82, commencing at 35, the Great River Road, and ending at the junction of Highway 27. The plan for that is for it to occur in 2024. There is a possibility that that might be moved up. However, these schedules tend to be reasonably fluid, so let us plan for 2024. Also relating to that, there used to be a program called a Safe Route to School program. That has been rolled into what's called a Transportation Alternative Program. And through that, the village applied to provide sidewalks that would extend from the school all the way to the eastern end of the municipality. That has been approved, and that will be conducted at the same time as the repaving. So as a result of all three of these initiatives, you will have some display signs, which will hopefully help curtail some of the people interested in getting through our village, as well as a new road and a safer route for people walking or bicycling. That is the extent of my report, and thank you very much for having me.
News, thank you very much.
Can't thank you enough, Joel, for your advocacy on our behalf of our students, their families that walk and drive and drop off students here, our bus transportation services. So we're extremely extremely grateful, and I would just add that Mr. Ferget has worked alongside me along the way as well. He's our principal at the Desoto Middle High School. We share those roles, and we share the same keep our kids safe philosophy and purpose, and we appreciate the village's partnership with us. Thank you so very much for all you've accomplished to help us make this happen.
And thank you.
It's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. All right. Well, thanks again, and so we'll move on to our next item of business, which is the 2021 end of the year purchases.
2021 end of the year purchases have basically all been approved by the school board. Those were those larger expense items. One was the roofing that was approved back in January. The normal remaining purchases, we believe, will be within our budget constraints. Those are the end of the year utilities, as well as any closing out of classroom supplies and orders, which should have concluded at the start of this month. And then some of the smaller things that our sports programs are finishing up, graduation costs and things of that nature. So basically, due to the long-range planning presentations, our bigger expenses fall under building and grounds. Those have been brought forward to the school board regularly throughout the year. And so we are closing up the end of the school year within our budget, as well as with some potential use of that fund balance to support maintaining our facilities.
That's good news as well.
I'm sure Guy can add a little bit more to that when he joins us. The Personnel and Finance Committee heard the presentation from Diane and Lisa, which included encompassing this at the meeting last week.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for that report. Our next item is 7.12, senior class community service hours.
Our senior class is doing a good job of completing community service hours, considering that they've pretty much been locked out of face-to-face personal work due to COVID. And so we have some members of the senior class that we're waiting for them to turn in some volunteer sheets, and some who are completing projects. Seniors who still have time to complete will be joining the juniors, as we've done last year or 2 years ago, on a community service field trip that is being run by Mr. Parker, who has always been a big advocate of students having community service hours as part of graduation. And so we will be assisting our community by providing community service and making sure that our students have an accessible opportunity in this year and a half of COVID.
And our next item on the agenda is
Candidates for graduation.
anticipated candidates for graduation. Sorry.
The board has a list of the candidates that are being recommended by high school administration and our guidance counselor for graduation. We have students receiving a DeSoto High School diploma. We have graduates, as Mr. Kelly mentioned, from our charter school. And we have a student who will be receiving the DeSoto District Diploma through an alternate education program. So we need board approval to approve these candidates for graduation. If they stay on track and get all their community service hours in, they should be 21 graduates of DeSoto High School, our charter school, and our district.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Kirk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're all voting every time, Darius. Thank you. At any rate, our next item then would be 7.15, purchase of school vehicle.
Guy and Mrs. Moline could speak to those. Those are our special education vehicles. The board did receive an email with an additional bid on our RAV4 that was researched, and I'll let either Mrs. Moline or Mr. Boardman speak to this.
Yeah, I'll start, and I appreciate Guy being willing to help out with this too, and everyone else who's had an opportunity to test drive or provide feedback from the board committee as well. We went to the board with two separate proposals or ideas, and then one of those has been eliminated, the Chevy Traverse, moving forward, and we are moving forward with two choices for the board tonight. One is the Ford Escape, which was presented at the committee meeting from Sleepy Hollow. And secondly, a Toyota RAV4 from Toyota of La Crosse, submitting a bid on a new vehicle from them. So there's definitely pros and cons to both of them. And, you know, we're excited about either option, to be honest. Our staff was pretty well split on who liked what when they were test driving them. So I appreciate them taking the time to do that. Obviously, the Toyota has maintained its resale value, which would be advantageous for our school district, as we've been very fiscally responsible trying to look at the best vehicles for purchase, as well as their their great mileage for the vehicles. The Ford Escape seems like it's been a great vehicle for the one that we already have. The comfort, backup camera for safety, remote start, not only from the parking, from inside the school to the parking lot, but also a feature for our app, which is a big safety concern, that we don't have to leave the building to start the vehicle to make sure it's warm and cleaned off for our students. So definitely things stand out for both of those vehicles. And the trade-in that we'd be looking at would be also trading off the Toyota Camry, which we purchased back in 2017. A trade-in, or we have considered putting that out for bid, and I know that Guy also has some information and thoughts on that. So any questions? You can see the specific information in both of your printouts. It's about a difference of just under $2,000 for between them. And I should make note that this will be paid for out of approval already was received from the Department of Public Instruction to use IDEA flow-through special education funding.
Do we have a Toyota bid here? I guess I don't see it.
Toyota RAV4 was emailed.
Yep, not a problem. Yeah, sorry, that was sent out by email, but they did just send another updated one today to include at least a remote start on the key fob for safety reasons. And I can make copies and bring that in as well. The bottom line after trade-in would be $13,582, which would be due if you want to look at a comparison to what we had before.
And the trade-in to get the Escape would be how much?
The trade-in to get the Escape looks like it would be $11,743.
Which one? Who drives it the most? What do they want?
That's a great question. I'll say, personally, Mrs. Grounding, you're welcome to chime in because we've been taking the very early morning routes before school. If I was going to personally purchase the vehicle, I would go with the Ford Escape myself. However, I also recognize on behalf of the district that the Toyota does have some features, including the mileage that, is advantageous for the distances that we're traveling. And Mrs. Grounding, you're the other main traveler of it, so you're welcome to chime in as well.
I would concur with you for the features that allow like hands-free phone use and other safety features, along with it being a very comfortable vehicle. So feel confident driving it in all road conditions and I concur with your choice as well.
I'm surprised that you choose that. Now, wouldn't you rather be in an all-wheel drive?
They both are all-wheel drive as well.
Right? Oh, okay, I didn't realize that. Well, that's the big thing that I thought.
Because you got one, Rick.
Well, no, well, I know which one will give you the best resale value down the road too. You know, if you were trading in a 2017 RAV4, you'd be getting a lot more money, but that's all right. If that's the one you guys want, then that's the one we get.
Well, it's a balance of the economics on the upfront cost, mileage, and the safety features. And so, you know, I think that would be our priority to find that best balance and justify it. Mrs. Moline, because this is a funding support through other funding other than district dollars per se, do you need the board to take action on this tonight?
Yes, I would need board approval still to purchase the item in accordance with board policy because of the dollar amount. So if you wanted to approve, I guess even the opportunity for the upper dollar amount, I'd be happy to quick make copies and bring this other bid in for you to look at.
And I also don't know, do we have to make a motion if we are going to trade the current vehicle in, or if we were going to sell that outright? I don't know how that goes or whatever, but if we're going to, I think it's wise if we just trade it in because it's got such a high resale value.
Generally, we've offered it up to bid for a little bit in case we get a little more.
We can certainly do that.
That's not a bad idea either. From what I looked at the blue book, I think we're only at top end. There's only $2,000 away from where we're at for the trade-in value that both places gave us.
Rest for time.
Mrs. Moline, when do we have to close out the budget year for this purchase?
We definitely could have time to post that. It's just a matter of if Sleepy Hollow or Toyota La Crosse is willing to hold the vehicle for us for that length of time for whatever we decide, or that they could get in the same comparable vehicle. We do have a few weeks to turn that around once we have all the approvals, which we already have from DPI, so it'd just be the board. And like Mr. Boardman already noted, both trade-ins were very close in nature, so we would know what we have to have for a minimum bid. And I know that in particular, Sleepy Hollow has been very understanding in the past and giving us some time to post that if the board would support us doing that.
Mrs. Moline, could you please bring in a copy of that RAV4 bid so that the board has a few minutes to look over that comparison? And then maybe under your director's report, they can accept your report and the amount that they wish to have expended on the vehicle.
Like Con said, Sleepy Hollow has been really good about us getting all the money that we can get and saving all the, you know. I know at Sleepy Hollow, if he thought we could get 2,000 more, he'd want us to get to 2,000 more.
I just want to make sure we don't.
Taxes aren't an issue.
The timeline.
Yeah, he won't.
And to also say he's been very generous, and when we do purchase a vehicle, Mrs. Greiner and I have went there and they've donated back sweatshirts and t-shirts and hats for students who may be in need throughout the school year. So that's also something else that's really nice of them to do.
We go raid their clothing store. We'll take this vehicle and 4 sweatshirts and a couple of hats.
Maybe 9.
Got to give them for our kids. Our big kids, for the students.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve up to the upper limit of these 2 potential trades. Would that be fair to say?
You can wait until my report. I'll bring in the bid real quick.
Okay, well, I thought you wanted flexibility, a little bit of flexibility if you changed your mind, but that's either way is fine.
Sure, you could at least be able
Right.
to see both bids. and then make a motion to do what you just suggested after you've had a chance
Sure.
to look at it.
Okay,
Especially since they sent us a new one today, and that didn't get out to everybody, obviously.
sounds good.
Thank you.
We'll wait until then.
This is publicly media. We'll have $500 or more guys playing that game.
You might make a couple thousand, but suit yourself.
Might not be good.
We've done it in the past. Anyway, she's gonna bring them.
Let's go on.
Yep, next item then is the Art Club Highway Mural.
Is Carissa on tonight? She's not on tonight. I know that we sent her an email to join us. Carissa is our art teacher here, and she has a proposal to redo the mural during summer school with students that is on the highway there. So she has some designs that she's worked up with students who will be through summer school responsible for painting the mural. So it's going to kind of feature not only local images, but a lot of school-related images. And we want to also share that with the village and get their feedback as well. But she has some students who are very excited about refurbishing that wall. So we just wanted to make sure that the school board was aware of that was going to happen, as well as the public, because obviously students have in previous years painted what is currently there. And so we want to make sure that people understand that as new students come and new teachers come, they'll probably make this a living project, and there will be painting and repainting of the design from time to time.
She's pretty good.
Thank you. It hasn't changed.
Pat, it's not time for a changeover now.
Thank you, Mrs. Mullane. So it's,
We stopped doing them when Bob Russ was still alive.
Didn't they do it once more after that? Yeah, they did. They just, but I kind of still.
so we don't
Okay,
need a
we-
motion, it was just for information, and if there are any questions, and I will have her email out to me, God bless you, email out to me so I can send you some of the design ideas that they're working on, so that you can see.
Okay, with that, then we will move on to the inclement weather makeup days.
We had 4 snow days this year. We also had a couple of late starts and an early release in there. Our school calendar allows for 2 of those days to be forgiven. In an analysis of our required minutes, we do meet the minute guideline, except for the DPI does not allow the 13 days that middle and high school were closed, not due to COVID, but due to not being able to find enough available substitute teachers. There were 2 separate periods, a 6-day and a 7-day period. Those don't count as direct one-on-one. So we will be applying for a waiver for that, even though our students were at school virtually from home that entire time. So those happened in, I believe, November, end of October, November, and then Thanksgiving weekend into that first week of December. So a total of 13 days for middle school and high school. And we had 1 brief period when 3rd grade at Prairie View was closed, but those students also were remote learners. So I will be applying for a waiver from the DPI to accept both formats of learning. We did not shut down the district. Additionally, for our teachers, we will submit to the board that one of those days, or both of those days, will be made up in August for staff development opportunities. And for those teachers who are resigning, we will ask that they make up 2 of the days that we don't normally forgive, 2 of those days, as soon as school is out on that Monday and Tuesday in June, which would be 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, I believe. So those who are leaving us, we will ask that they help prepare their rooms for, and potentially work with the teachers who are replacing them, if those teachers have been hired. And we will allow our staff to end the year on June 4th, that Friday, and then use those other 2 days sometime in August for some staffing services.
Questions on all that?
I would need a motion.
Let people digest. No questions, then I'd ask for a motion to approve the request as presented for the inclement weather makeup days. Anybody? Take a motion by Jeff. Get a second. Okay, second by Gary. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Our next is 7.19, which is the 21-22 teacher contracts.
Yes, as part of our obligation, we need to provide teachers with a contract for the next school year by May 15th. So this would be the board meeting where we would ask the board to approve. The board does have a list of teachers in there, but I would ask that the board approve all current teaching staff and except for those who have resigned or plan to resign for renewal. So all our 2021 current teaching staff would be recommended for the next school year, except for those who have already been approved, who had their resignations approved, or may choose to resign between now and the end of the year, if that happens.
I'll make your motion.
Okay, motion by Jeff. Need a second? I'll second. Second by Jess. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. So with that, we are on to reports.
We will turn to our principals first. Mr. Fergut, are you available?
I sure am. Let's see, we got a lot of stuff, good stuff going on at the middle high school. Just completed our forward testing, our state testing for 6th through 8th grade, and also 10th grades, with the exception of a few students. Last week, the Desoto FFA held their annual banquet. So it was a good show. Congratulations to Miss Park and the FFA. Let's see. We also have ACT Aspire testing coming up. And let's see, Mrs. Groning, what else am I forgetting there?
We have our middle school students who are in their 2nd or 3rd week now of social emotional learning on Friday mornings with passages. And that is out of Richland Center. It is a grant, so they send 2 to 3 people to work with our students weekly at no cost to the district. They work on social emotional learning, resiliency, self-regulation, diversity, accepting differences, how to handle their emotions, what are their trigger points. So it is a variety of lessons and activities that our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are going through on a weekly basis. And they're in the 3rd week of doing that. So,
I got some, yeah, there's some biology club stuff happening. They've got highway cleanup scheduled for May 8th. They've got a shoe drive going on right now. They're looking to reach a goal of 2,500. They have 628 pairs. So if anybody has any gently used shoes, they're looking for some shoes. Let's see what else. And then lastly, we've got currently we've got a middle school schedule ready for next year, the 2021 and 2022 school year, and we'll be completing the high school schedule within the next week or so. Seems like I'm forgetting something else.
I think you did good.
We've got
Mrs.
prom coming up too, so.
Mrs. Moline, you spend a lot of time in the middle school, high school. Did we forget anything?
The last 2 weeks have been kind of busy, so everything's flying by here, so I probably forgot something, but.
We're doing well.
All right, Mr. Fulsang.
Hello.
Hello.
How's everybody doing? So, with the rest of my PE budget, we purchased some fishing poles because we're limited on our field trip ideas. We're all going to take a little fishing trip down to the Stoddard boat landing. We're going to walk down, and we've been practicing our casting in the parking lot and having a little fun with it. So we have each grade planned out where we get to go down and do a little fishing at the Stoddard boat landing. So that's exciting. We're looking for some life jackets if anybody wants to loan us some kid life jackets. We're also looking into some other outdoor field trips, possibly a splash pad and walking over to the park in the month of May. Mrs. Boardman's coming. I think she's going to Prairie View on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Stoddard, we're doing some Earth Day activities with some high school students. So they'll be doing different little stations outside and in the gym just to celebrate Earth Day. So that's kind of something new and exciting that we're going to do. State testing was at Stoddard last week. I know that the teachers were happy that to get through it. It's a lot for some of those little kids to read some of those passages. So we were pretty proud of them, and we congratulated them when they were done. We'll do STAR and PALS testing in the month of May for the younger kids. I think we're all ready for that sun to come out and stay out so we can get some of these outdoor activities accomplished in the next couple weeks. And then we're looking forward to bring down the 5th graders in the month of May down to the middle school, high school, do a little orientation to get them kind of acquainted with what's going on down there. And then thanks for approving the Stoddard Kids Fishing Tournament. It's always a great turnout for our kids. Typically we have about 40 kids that show up and sometimes more. So thanks for doing that as well.
Want those vests dropped off?
Life jackets.
Yeah, if you want to just put your name in it, and we'll borrow them for a couple weeks and return them to you if when we're done.
What if we don't want them back?
Yeah, I guess we'll pass them on to the canoe club.
There you go. Thank you for all that.
Thank you.
Where do you want to go next?
I'll jump in here.
Thank you,
Derek covered a lot of topics also on my list. I'm really encouraging our staff to plan outdoor field trips, and most of them have those scheduled. I just think it's important for our kids to get out and about, get out of the school and enjoy the last part of the school year, since it has been, a struggle at times being masked up and the challenges of COVID. So we need to get out and celebrate. Looking forward to that. We just started our testing today, and I thank all the staff. There's a lot of moving parts. Some kids are testing in the classroom. Several are out testing individually with teachers or in small groups. So it takes a team effort. Scheduled. I guess moving on to I'll briefly update you on the fuel tank that Southwest Bus is working on putting down at their bus barn. They did purchase a tank. They are jumping through all the necessary hoops right now to obtain their permits. I know they met with Jackie and Guy last week to talk about some of the details. So next month's board meeting, we'll have more information for you, and we will most likely have a committee meeting to talk about all those details. But it looks like it's going to happen, and Derek's really excited about it. It should be a money-saving venture for both the bus company and the school district. Thank you.
Kelly, that Southwest is also reviewing the information provided by our insurance company on any requirements that they have for the installation of the fuel tank and any fencing around it.
Correct.
Or barriers, I should say. Thank you. We will go to Guy Boardman.
All right, thank you. So for our report here, you can kind of see we got the energy savings from the last month, and I really don't have much this year. Kelly already kind of touched base on the fuel tank. I went down there today, kind of leveled off the spot with the gravel, kind of got the tank sitting where they want to put it. It is a double line tank, so everything seems like they're going in the right direction as far as codes and that. We've reached out to CISA 10. And also insurance company, like Lindsay said, all of that, try to make sure that all of our ducks in a row before we move forward with this. Derek was very receptive to everything, and he wants everything to be the right way too, so we don't have to go through anything down the road. Our roofing project, some of our materials are getting delivered. Hopefully they'll start doing that in the next couple weeks. We do have a lot of projects that we're getting information on, so hopefully next month we can have a committee meeting and then we can pass that information on to the board. And we did a virtual drill for Severe Weather Awareness Month. Mr. Browning and some of his kids went through and actually made a video, showed where to go in case of a tornado and that. With COVID and that, we didn't really feel that'd be a good idea to pack everybody in the spaces and everything, so we kind of did a virtual video, and it went very well. Not much else. Stoddard, we fixed the playground, had an issue up there with one of the cables that came loose. I went up there and got it pulled back up in there and tightened up, and everything was good. And Prairie View's been humming along, so that's about all I got.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all you do to keep our facilities clean and safe and well maintained. Look forward to lawn mowing season coming up. Betsy, I don't believe Betsy is joining us tonight, but she did mention she will be contacting other food service directors in other districts to see if they intend to carry out a food service program over the summer months outside of summer school. We always provide breakfast and lunch during summer school, but will we do so in other months? So she'll get some feedback from other school districts, and we may be surveying our families to see if there is even interest. Mr. Grunning, anything from technology land?
Not a lot to report. I am pleased with how well the testing is going. Like all the principals are saying, it's a major undertaking. And this is the first year that we have introduced the Chromebooks into the mix of equipment for testing. And so far, we have not on wood somewhere because we're not done. But we haven't had a single glitch in the technology part of the operation, so we feel pretty good about that. We're doing some pretty cool things. We'll show you one of these days with drone technology and programming and a few other things, but we'll try to schedule a get-together with some of the students in the future.
Will your drones be part of arts and education on the 28th?
Yes.
So if you come to arts and education on the 28th, there will not only be artwork, but there will be educational contributions. I believe FFA, biology club, a few other of our major departments. And the band and choir will be performing at 7 o'clock, but Dwayne and his tech kids will have a demonstration of drones that they have synchronized through programming, not through thumb control, remote control unit, but all through computer programming, telling the drones what to do, where to fly, and how to circle around. So that should be very interesting. Mrs. Moline.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions on that vehicle information that was passed out?
Motion on the 7.15 if there's no questions on that vehicle.
Sure. McCarn, you once said to make a motion up to that higher amount. Is that what you want?
We're looking for recommendations from the board, and we really did appreciate some discussion about it at the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting. As you know, it helped us eliminate some choices. So if you'd like to weigh in on that, we're definitely open to that. I don't think either one is something that I mean, both I would drive. So.
Yeah, truly, you all drive vehicles and different brands, so.
Well, I think resale wise, I know which one's going to do the best for you. But,
well, that's a consideration.
You could do a little research on that and look at just go back and see what a 2000.
We kind of agreed on what they agreed.
But she's asking for feedback, so I'm just giving her.
We're really fine with either one of the vehicles. So honestly, if the board feels that there's a better resale value and want us to.
Well, you just have to
that,
look. I would give you the option to get whichever one you want. Just take a look at that and see what you think as a consideration and pick the one you want.
Okay, definitely appreciate that, as that isn't part of my day-to-day job, purchasing vehicles. So thank you for that information and feedback too.
So we would need a motion at least to not exceed a certain amount. And then we can meet with Guy and Jackie who do maintenance of the vehicles and say, okay, let's compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges, and see where we are.
Then you do a motion not to exceed $13,582.
Okay, about that trade-in. And then hopefully we are able to either sell it to a member of the public who wants it for that balance we need or better, or then we'll just trade it in.
How many miles on it?
Do you know how many miles, Mrs. Moline?
There's 36,109.
36,109 sound about right? Guy?
I remember now Wednesday. Yeah.
Well, I just happen to see it on the Toyota Swift.
And 60 miles today, so we're doing well.
There you go. So somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that.
Okay, motion by Jeff, seconded by Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Now would you like to continue with your report?
Yes, thank you. So we are really excited to welcome the newest pirates into our learning community here. So we're going to be hosting a Child Development Day at Stoddard May 7th and at Prairie View on May 14th. So 2 Fridays in a row. If your child or you know a child who will be turning 4 or is 4 by September 1 of 2021, we'd like to encourage them to come and visit with us and see the elementary building in which they would be attending. So those reservations can be made by contacting the building secretary in which you'd like to have the child enroll in. Again, that's May 7th at Stoddard and May 14th at Prairie View. So we're looking forward to that and our teachers meeting and staff meeting with those future pirates. Additionally, if you have any concerns with your child's development and they are going to be 3 by September 1, you're welcome to call and set up a time for that as well. Moving on, since our last meeting, last board meeting, we've had 7 IEP meetings. We've continued our work with CISA 4 and their 317 reading specialists. In addition, I'll be meeting with her tomorrow, and the rest of our administrative team will be meeting with her next Monday as we continue to focus and look at ways to improve achievement, look at any gaps we may have, and focus on those essential learning outcomes. So that's been great work by our administrative team as we get ready to continue moving that forward, especially with the emphasis on that from all of the additional federal money that we're going to be allocated. As everyone's kind of talked about testing, it's a busy time of the year for testing, and I couldn't be more proud, as everyone else has kind of reiterated, from the technology to the students to our staff administering it. One area that we kind of switched things up a little bit this year, as Mr. Greiner was talking about with the Chromebooks. We hired substitutes in for the entire time that any building was testing that week, so that title and special education could have accommodations and also be non-distracted with those small groups of students that could be in those rooms. So hopefully that works out well, as I know we've had positive feedback so far from that. As we continue to move forward through my report, last Friday we had DVR, the Department of Workforce Development, provide an informational session for our juniors and seniors. The PowerPoints are available for students and their families to also view if they're interested in enrolling or applying for that, I should say. CISA and DPI have provided a lot of informational webinars about federal funding, which is very important in how we make plans moving forward financially. Tomorrow, Diane, our business manager, Lisa, Lindsay, Mrs. Greiner, and myself will be meeting with Rachel Zelmer from the Department of Public Instruction to discuss a one-on-one planning session as we look specifically at our district's maintenance of effort, so special education funding that has to maintain from the year before into the next year, at least at that same amount, as well as any of our Fund 10 transfers to Fund 27, high-cost students, as well as federal funding resources that maybe have been carried over, and the best way to utilize that with the information and the funding coming from the federal area as we move forward with CARES, state funding of GEARS, as well as the CARISA and ESSER funds. We want to make sure that we're managing this funding the best way possible. So moving things around and making sure that we're doing and receiving some advice on that is going to be important from an outside perspective. And last but not least, definitely is talking about our own law firm, and Mrs. Greiner is welcome to expand upon this, as they've provided a training on special education, open enrollment, and other COVID-19 type information that we need to work on for spring and work with some families on additional changes to IEPs. Any questions?
I just note that the law firm offers those trainings out, or in-services out to the schools that they represent, and there's no cost to the school district for that training. Thank you, Mrs. Mullane. I'd just like to reiterate a few things. One is thank again to Joel Greiner and the Desoto Village for their work to support the safety of our students. The Insurance Center, Janice Wabra, for working with us to get the initial information on renewal of health, dental, life, long and short-term disability, which she will assist me with presenting out to our school staff. Working forward on the budget for next year to be able to bring a preliminary budget to the school board in June. And those are kind of the big projects. And maybe Tim mentioned this. I didn't hear it, so I'll just throw it out there. Today was the first day of spring sports practices. So we realized it was a long spring for our athletes who were waiting for the fall sports from other school districts that got moved into the spring to be able to get their own spring season started. So it'll continue a little bit longer into the month of June, with state track actually being towards the end of June now for athletes who are participating in those programs. So We hope that that weather continues to just get nicer and nicer as they move into their season. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no further administrative reports, then we would move on to correspondence.
In correspondence, the board sees a letter from the insurance center noting that we are receiving a reimbursement of $11,374.72 for workman's compensation dividend check. We receive those when we are not heavy users of workman's comp, and so that goes back into the budget. Advantage FS, we had on a refill, we had a venting issue where we're really pleased that we had one of our custodial staff able to, he could smell that it was venting. It wasn't leaking LP gas. The venting system was working appropriately, and he made the appropriate radio call for assistance. We had the fire department show up and monitor the situation until Advantage could get there and rectify it. But there was a loss of $43.50 worth of LP gas that was vented during that time, and we are being credited for that by Ag Advantage. We received a letter addressed to Mr. Pedretti, our business manager, and myself, that there's a new private school opening up, Eden Ridge Ranch, and they are out there on in the Viroqua area, but part of our school district. They are looking to have students attend from quite a few area schools, and will give us a list of identifying pupils so that we may provide transportation, as we are required to do, to private schools that are within our boundaries. There are likely to be other service requests as well. You also have a letter acknowledging Mrs. Bark and the FFA for that outstanding banquet and program. They had Paris Cleveland from the state FFA vice president speak, which is a nice tribute to our students when the state officers come and provide a presentation at our local banquets. Excellent night, lots of accomplishments by our students, and congratulations to all. There's also a letter in there where I've nominated Ashley Witeski, middle school, high school special ed teacher, for the Wisconsin Council of Administrators Special Ed Outstanding Services to Children Award. So I would like to draw your attention to that. They have a limited amount of space, and as you all know, that's hard for me to contain everything that I would like to share. But she's certainly deserving of the recognition, at least by the school board, for her work, and hopefully she receives that state honor as well.
That covers it. So are there any items for the May 2021 board meeting that anybody wants on the agenda? If not, we ask for a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Jeff makes the motion to adjourn, seconded by Jeff. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, one and all. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Take care, Darius. Drive safe.
Bye. My favorite little elementary student.